Hello, fellow Megatenists, and welcome to a slightly different episode of the Megaten Minute. Today, I want to talk about a topic that's kind of been bothering me for a while, and I hope that you guys can bear with me. If you don't like the content, please let me know, and I won't try to do this sort of thing again. This is unscripted, so it might come off a little odd. Today, we're going to be covering Megaten and Megaten in media, because the news regarding Megaten, as it becomes more and more popular, becomes more and more problematic, I think. And this is reflected in a bunch of different examples, some being very minor and some being pretty negative and pretty toxic. The reason why I bring this up is because Kotaku UK actually fairly recently published an article, which you all might be aware of, where they say that Persona 5 has a lyric in the song Get Up, or Wake Up, Get Up, and Get Out There, that includes a disability slur, the slur in question being retard. Those of you who are familiar with the song are confused by this because doing some cursory Google searching, I haven't really found a whole lot of people questioning whether that is a thing in the song. The song has been out for almost 3-4 years now, and it's quite unusual that only now it's come up. And why would it come up now? Because Persona 5 is trending and Joker is in Smash, which prompted this article. The article was written by a woman named Laura Kate Dale, someone who actually has a couple of articles written about her. And before we get into that, I do want to talk about the article in question. So this article, it's about a page long, and what it really just covers is that the DLC pack has a song, Wake Up, Get Out There, and around the 1 minute 48 second mark, you'll hear the word retarded. And basically the author of the article is questioning whether it's there, why it's there. They kind of talk about why it's considered a slur, and they say they've reached out to Atlus and Nintendo, and neither have given them a response at the time of the publishing of the article. So that leads to a lot of questions. The first being, how did they get to the point where they published an article without actually verifying whether or not the word in question was actually used in, the song? The author of the article, Laura Kate Dale, actually clarified on Twitter in a now deleted tweet that she was forced to, first she says she was forced to remove that tweet, but she also says that Kotaku she only intended to publish the article after she had contacted Atlus or Nintendo, but Kotaku published it anyway. And because of that, it negatively affected her. In media, we typically see that they have deadlines that they have to follow, and there is some bit of rushing involved. But my question then falls onto Laura Kate Dale, where if she had such a strong accusation to, set upon Atlus and Nintendo, why did she go to the top and contact those companies rather than contacting the author or the writer, the lyricist behind the song in question? That author's name is Benjamin Franklin, funny enough. And it's very easy to find this information. All you have to do is look up the song online, and immediately it'll give you the credits for the writing and composing, recording of the song, as with most songs that are popular. So as a journalist, I would think that the most logical thing to do would be to then look for Benjamin Franklin on social media, which I couldn't really find him, to be honest, on social media. Although I am not a media personality, I'm just someone who makes trivia content on YouTube and on Twitter, Facebook. So I would assume that someone like Laura would have more resources and also more time, because I spent maybe 5 minutes and I found out who created it. I found an image of them and some other credits they've done, because they're also a singer as well. And it just boggles my mind that instead of actually contacting that person and verifying the information, they sent out inquiries to the two companies and then just sent the article into Kotaku. I don't understand how that process works, if that's a true excuse, because if you send in the article and you're waiting for the reply from the two companies, I guess you could just addend the article later and add that this is what the company said. Needless to say, that article was hardcore damned by the community, not just the Megaten community, but also just people who are frustrated with very lackluster gaming journalism. Gaming journalism, to me, is something that could potentially be very, very viable and useful, but whenever it comes to these big companies, there's always a hard stance of, questioning. I've seen people on YouTube who publish content similar to mine, maybe that's just a little more popular and they're a little more prevalent, and I've seen them post misinformation, and no one really questions it, and I'll scroll the comments and I won't really see that much in the way of correction. But if it's a really big media outlet, we get this huge outcry when something this egregious happens. Now, Kotaku UK decided to publish an article on the April 19th. So this is about 2 days after the article was published. And in that response, it's not written by Laura, it's actually written by a man named Rich Stanton. They say that they published an article about the song, and they were contacted by several readers who questioned the legitimacy of the article. And they basically apologized. They said that they got a reply from Alice, and Alice basically just said that the song does not contain the word retarded. They don't have the song's actual lyrics still, which again they could find out through a lot of other methods, specifically contacting the lyricist. I'm sure he has that. I'm sure that there's probably lyrics in one of the OSTs, possibly. I actually have never opened my Persona 5 OST, the soundtrack, neither the vinyl nor the actual CD, so I don't really know, and that's frustrating too. But for a company to spend $30 on a CD to find out whether or not the lyrics are correct, rather than do the most roundabout way, which seems logical, but it's not. It's the equivalent to me of calling the CEO of McDonald's when you get your order wrong and you don't get the McNuggets, you act like they mistakenly give you a Big Mac. That's like contacting McDonald's and going like, CEO, they made a mistake, and then waiting for a response and then getting frustrated when you don't get the response. It's a pretty indirect way and inefficient way to work. Now, this non-apology was frustrating too, because they also make a statement saying Kotaku does not delete articles. On the internet, what would be the point anyway? We admit our mistakes, own them, and update the original to reflect new information. So why would they? What does that actually mean? What that actually means is that they slightly changed the article. They kept the headline the same, so it still says Smash Bros. Ultimate's Persona 5 DLC includes a disability slur. That has not been changed. There's a little addendum on the bottom, and that's it. It's ridiculous to me that they're keeping it up, and it's also ridiculous to me that they would have this hard stance of not deleting articles, because what they're saying is that they're doing it. They're what's the point? But we know what the point is. The point is they want to keep getting clicks. They want to keep getting ad revenue from people clicking that article. And this issue where people are complaining about them actually probably got them more traffic than if they had posted a legitimate article. So it's a win-win for them. Both this non-apology and the actual article itself got them a lot of traffic, and that's a win at the end of the day. They probably made more money from that than anything else. Now, what I was saying about the author, Laura Kate Dale, is that she actually had a couple articles written about her, and none of them are pretty nice. None of them are nice at all. Actually, most of them, if not all of them, make accusations that Laura is a pathological liar, that she manipulates people all the time. She makes up stories, one including a time where she was supposedly almost kidnapped at E3, another where someone misgendered her, another one, I mean, it's all this kind of stuff. It's pretty bad. She also didn't really make a real apology on Twitter. If she did, it's one of the many deleted tweets. But the apology seems hollow, because even in her responses, one of the responses she didn't delete says that she still doesn't know what it says, and it's confusing, but it's really not. It's pretty easy to hear what you want to hear if you want it to be offensive. If you really want to throw out logic, throw out the fact that the singer is not fluent in English, throw out the logic of contacting the actual lyricist, you can really listen to a Japanese person singing in English and pick out whatever and make it sound bad. But even in the context of the song, it doesn't make sense for it to say retarded. I will apologize for me using that word. It's what I want to talk about, but I don't want to keep going around in circles and avoiding saying it, so then it becomes more and more confusing. Laura having so many negative things, she has such a bad reputation, someone who's not honest, not trustworthy, who says that she's autistic as well, which is it's good that she's able to disclose that information publicly and be proud of it and own it. Doesn't give her credence to kind of dictate everything, and that even kind of makes me even more doubtful that she even wanted for it to not say retarded, that she probably was looking for something to be offended by. And while this article was the reason why I wanted to record, we have had this happen with other articles where, there's just either a complete lack of journalistic integrity or there's just laziness. Silicon Era, another big news outlet, is pretty good at being pretty lazy. I fairly recently made a series of tweets where I complained about Silicon Era straight up copying information and quoting someone, translator Tom, who did the translations in question for the Last Bible entry that they're writing about. They're writing about the Game Gear version of Last Bible. They just straight up copy things that translator Tom tweeted without crediting him as the source, verbatim. And this article that they posted for Last Bible, it consists of mostly pictures and is less than, I would say, 150 words, but almost all of it is just words from translator Tom. And even when I questioned that, I got no response, obviously, because I'm not a big name. And it's just really unfortunate that this is something that's okay. It's okay to just plagiarize, which is what it is, when you just copy someone verbatim without crediting them. It's okay because, who cares? It's like this article that I'm looking at for Last Bible, for the Game Gear, only has 168 shares, 1 retweet. So it's if I was gonna see the analytics for the traffic, I would say that the traffic is probably pretty low, and that's whatever. It is what it is. Last Bible is not gonna be a game that stops the presses, but it's this sort of thing. Whether it's misinformation with Laura Kate Dale's article or Silicon Era's article written by Alistair Wong, where he just I say written, but I really mean copy pasted. It's sad that these kinds of things are normal and people only freak out when it bothers them, but we don't really ever get real results. We just get placated with false platitudes, essentially, just non-apologies and very careful choosing their fights. In the case of Silicon Era, who just chose not to respond at all to, it's not even accusations, they're straight up proven. It's really all unfortunate. There are some positives though, and I did want to highlight a couple of things, but maybe I'll do that in another video because this one's getting pretty long, and I know that you guys like to make a joke about how my Megaten minute videos are not actually a minute long. So that being said, thank you for listening, fellow Megatenists. What do you guys think? Am I wrong? So go ahead and do the things where you like, subscribe, and whatnot. I still have some keychains. I'm ready to manufacture round 2, and I'm started to make some shirts and stuff. All that stuff will go up I think by June is when I'm shooting for the shirts and stuff to go live. The next keychain set around that time too. So go ahead and grab them. I think that when I do release the second set of keychains, I might do like a sale where if you buy a certain number, you get one free or something. Don't really know how to set those settings on Etsy, but they're coming up. So thank you guys for listening, watching, subscribing, liking, commenting, all that stuff. Goodbye.